Uhuru, comrades. Uhuru. Fist up!
Fight back!
Fist up! Fist up! Uhuru, touch me!
Touch all!
Uhuru.
All right, I am Makeda Baraka.
And I'm your local president of Westbrook. And I want to start by saluting our leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela. Uhuru, come on now. Uhuru. I want to salute President Matsemela and salute all the distinguished guests in attendance. We would like to welcome you to the 2025 International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement Convention, appropriately named Cheers to the Dying Colonialism, this time till it's won. The theme of our convention acknowledged the revolutionary optimism that we feel at this moment of colonial crisis. We are optimistic because we sit on decades of African internationalist leadership that has brought us to this very moment.
At this year's InPDUM convention, we observed the 40th anniversary of the formation of the People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, or PDUM, and the People's Democratic Platform, crafted in the spring of 1985 in Oakland, California. PDUM was created at a moment a lot like ours right this moment, right now. There was an international white fear that had grown to a feverish pitch. There was also a president who had come to power by promising to make America great again. PDUM was organized as part of the counteroffensive against the U.S. counter-insurgency. That led to the formation of the National People's Democratic Uhuru Movement 6 years later. InPDUM, or InPDUM, became InPDUM in 2001. InPDUM was organized to defend the democratic rights of the African community, bringing the masses of African people back into political life.
Uhuru. All of the workshops in the panels this weekend are practically organized. We will examine the purpose and work of InPDUM over the years and chart our way forward. Now I want to bring up the President, Matsemela, to lead us through some of our housekeepings for the day. So let's give our hand a round of applause for our President.
All right.
Touch one.
Touch all.
Touch one.
Touch all.
Israel two.
Africa.
Africa.
Israel two.
Uhuru.
So there's a slideshow. If they can pull that slideshow up, it's titled the transition slideshow. Can we pull it up? Uhuru. So I want to welcome everybody to today's convention. I want to begin the convention by starting off with a moment of silence and a memory for our lost comrade, Sayero Akinshele Sayero Oshosi. Comrade Sayero first came into work with the Uhuru Movement for probably about 5 years ago. I remember his work really kicking off with us around the time of the Black Power Summits and things of that sort. Sayero eventually came into the party and then left, but came back into the party. He never once stopped being involved in the mass work of the party, as well as the coalition work with the Blacks Back Coalition. Sayero really appreciated and saw the importance of political education, especially African internationalist political education. He didn't only attend, but he always brought people with him. I remember this was in 2023. We held African Liberation Day, and it was a day of action for African Liberation Day as well. Sairo, who had been, house ridden to some extent because of the illness he was dealing with, could not get out. Really had wanted to get out, so he had organized with me to hold that year a um, a virtual a day of action in which he pulled all sorts of people together. And some of those people he pulled together, he didn't just pull them together to him. He was a person who understood organization. Sairo, one many of those people like Comrade Nathaniel Joseph, who does work now with the Blacks Back Coalition, as well as other work over in New Orleans. And just so many other people he brought in to the work. So Sire was an organizer. He had cut his teeth as a young person, working alongside and with the Black Panther Party and subsequent political campaigns. If you check out his colonial name, which is Dennis Knowles, you'll find all sorts of activities that the comrade was involved in. So just want to really open up this InPDUM convention with a brief moment of silence for Sairo. All right, thank you. All right, so now we'll skip to the slide with Chairman. I want to salute Chairman Omali Yeshitela. Chairman Omali Yeshitela, who is the chair of the African People's Socialist Party and the founder of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, the leader of the Uhuru Movement, and the architect of African Internationalism, the theory, practice that guides the work of the Uhuru Movement. So I want to just say Uhuru. So we'll skip 2 slides and then go. Want to let you all know for this weekend we have a goal to raise $5,000. So our goal to raise $5,000 to move the work of InPDUM forward. For all people that are here, you can we'll skip to the next slide. You can donate to the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement through Cash App by going to $InPDUM. I guess they call that a cash tag, but $InPDUM. Online, you can go to impdum.org/donate as well. If you do mail any checks, you can mail checks to with my name, InPDUM, care of Matsemela Odom, 4101 West Florissant, St. Louis, Missouri, 63115. There'll be more to say about this, but we want to put this in front of you all for the day. Change slides. For the people that are interested as well, membership. There's 2 ways to become a member. You can become an annual member. You can become a monthly sustaining member as well. For the sake, we'll go deeper into this later on, but we want to just put that in front of everybody. That there are multiple ways to become members and organizers inside the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. So skipping all the way to the last slide, want to also invite everyone to purchase their convention t-shirts. Get your 2025 InPDUM convention commemorative t-shirts. Cheers to a dying colonialism. This time till it's won. I already saw the orders coming in. So you go to impdum.org/shop, and they're only $25, including shipping, and that's for all sizes. So that's size small all the way up to 5X, only $25, which includes shipping. So we really want to, and for the people that are here present today, you can purchase your t-shirts as well. And I have them right here, nicely packaged and everything as well. So if you're here present, come and get your t-shirt. So I just wanted to thank the MCs for today for allowing me to come in and just do some little housekeeping. We have the restrooms to the right. If you know, please silence your phones as well. And also inside your packet, that's what I meant to say. Inside your packet, you will find an agenda for the weekend. You will also find a copy of the Chairman Omali Yeshitela's keynote address to the founding convention for the National People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. And you will also find a pen, an ink pen, and at least one button pen. If you pre-registered, you have more than a few button pens, as well as a special APSP flag pin inside your, as a thank you for everyone who's pre-registered. All right, Uhuru, thank you.
Once again, I just want to reiterate that please put your phones on silence. Bathrooms to your right, just want to reiterate that. And ain't this beautiful area that you're in? Ain't it's kind of beautiful and cozy? Yeah. This is the house that's Black is built. We call it a Quabba Hall. A Quabba is called welcome. You is always welcome to this place. But right now, can we have your stand for the Africa fight song, please? That was written by our very own Uhuru. The African Nation fight song, correction.
Africa, we are winning. Shout billion strong. Yes, we are one. We are winning. Patrice Lumumba's life won't be in vain. We are winning. Keep up the work in Marcus Garvey's name. We are winning. Independent and free is what we will be. We are winning. Africa will bask in our victory. We are winning. Long live the liberation of our African nation. Freedom organization. Socialist our creation. 1 billion strong. Yes, we are one. We are
Oh, it's win. Oh. All right. To kick off this weekend with a report, we are going to kick off a weekend with the report from our own president, Matsemela. Matsemela Odom is the president of the International People Democratic Uhuru Movement, InPDUM, the international Black Power organization located on no less than 3 continents, 9 countries. Y'all hear that? That's significant. Ask Herbalese, is they located in all them damn places. But once again, we are located on 9. See all that damn talking, I lost my spot. But anyway, the International Black Power Organization is located on no less than 3 continents and 9 countries. As a leader in InPDUM, Matsemela has coordinated the African George genocide campaign and the successful local defense of our comrade Denzel, an InPDUM member charged with defending an African man being beaten by police in San Diego, California. President Matsemela loved history. Yeah, all that great could tell you that too. You don't get that great for no reason. And he is a proud African working class intellectual. He is the editor of African Resisting Now column in the Burnsburg newspaper. And he is the African People's Socialist Party Central Committee and on the Black is Back Steering Committee as well, where he's coordinating the Black community control of the police working group. So y'all put your hands together for our international president, Dr. Odom. Uhuru, pistol, pistol, pistol. Uhuru. Uhuru.
So yeah, I'm really appreciative of being here today. I'm really excited to report on all of the work of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. We've been involved in a lot of work, and I took over leadership of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, of course, in the middle of crisis. It was crisis for the colonizer is opportunity for us, correct?
Yeah.
Uhuru. So this was 2022. I had the privilege of taking over InPDUM in the wake of the colonial states attack on our movement. And since then, been really excited about the growth that we have sustained as a part of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. I'm also really excited to report on just so many of the different work that we've done, not just in North America, but also in on the continent of Africa. So let's go on and move forward. All right, so InPDUM, like I said, InPDUM has been on the ground. InPDUM hit the ground running on that evening. I know that morning of July 29th, 2022, we had InPDUM members on the ground here, such as Erica and so many other local leaders that immediately answered the call. InPDUM lead vote getter, I'm not go vote getter, petition getter, lead go getter out there for the petition for people to stand in unity with the hands off Uhuru. InPDUM members have participated in all aspects of the work for the Hands Off Uhuru campaign, and just really want to begin by saluting the victory of the Uhuru Three, the political victory of the Uhuru Three trial last fall. So give a round of applause, please. There'll be more reported on this this weekend, of course. However, we know that it was a political victory, but we also know that within the colonial courts, it was a split victory, and we are right now waging a victorious appeal process. But not just the appeal, you'll learn more about the repeal movement that we have spearheaded to repeal the Hands Off Uhuru movement has spearheaded to repeal the FARA Act, the Foreign Agents Registration Act. So much more, but we want to really speak to that. I also thought about this, and I said, giving a self-criticism in front of everyone, because last year we did not hold an InPDUM convention. We're not holding an InPDUM convention, of course, because the InPDUM convention generally is in September, and that was when the trial had taken place. But sitting back and understanding what the convention is, especially for the mass members of InPDUM, the convention really is the highest level of InPDUM. And we say InPDUM's motto is self-determination is the highest expression of democracy. And in understanding that, I said, hey, you know what? The convention doesn't have to be some big time, thousands of dollars or something like that event. But a yearly national convening of InPDUM members as a way to assess the work that we've done throughout the year and move the work forward. And in that sense, I felt it was important to bring a self-criticism ahead of the fact and to say, you know what, we could have done that. We should have done that. I'm really looking forward to this convention, but also saying, hey, it could have been a Zoom conference or whatever it is, right? But just really felt the importance of bringing that forward to you all about amidst the work we know we were doing. Also, us not having that convention last year. So I want to move to the next slide. Now, when we think of the victory of the Hands Off Uhuru movement, especially, I think of Chairman Omali Yeshitela's keynote address to the Freedom Weekend in St. Petersburg, Florida, in early 1990. I think of this is less than a year following the founding convention of the People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, and a year before the founding of the National People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, which you all found out about. But when I think about it, I really think about to way if we were religious people, we say this was prophetic. Right, and many people are saying that now. Oh, this is prophetic. You already spoke this into existence, all this other sort of stuff. But it's not prophecy or any idealism like that. It's the serious study. It's the serious application of African internationalism, which has brought us to this moment. And I feel honored as the president of InPDUM to stand, and this is like, as the young people say, no cap. Is no cap when I say that this is Chairman Omali Yeshitela. Not a single person has advanced socialist theory to the level of Chairman Omali Yeshitela. Not a single person. And so I remember when I joined the party, I was suggested as a person who was recruited by chairman, and I think that that's absolutely correct. I think about the ways through which, in so much aspects of my life, was directing me to the movement. We say all roads lead to Uhuru, and we say the road to socialism is painted black, and that's absolutely correct. So it was at that event where chairman said, so what we want to do is make it, talking about the colonial system, have to deal with the question of democracy, not the question of revolution. It's our responsibility to make the revolution, to win revolutionary forces throughout the community, while at the same time posing for the whole social system and everybody in it the question of democracy. Make them have to deal with democracy. When I go to court, and this is 1990, Chairman saying this, right? So, like I said, this is where, like I said, if you was a religious person, said, "Man, that was prophecy" or something like that. But this is science. It says when I go to court, I'm not arguing about whether the Black Revolution is fine. I'm arguing that I have a right to be a revolutionary because they said in their constitution that it's permitted. We're not trying to win judges. We're trying to win the masses. We're not trying to win the state to agree that revolution is good. We're trying to present it with a contradiction that is inherent in itself. At some juncture, the system has to say that democracy is just good for white people. And that juncture is right now, 2025, right? Cheers to a dying colonialism, but this time until it's won, right? So so that's all right. We live in a world in which your local sports team is starting off with moments of silence for Charlie Kirk. But as I already said, that I'm standing next to and have for a while now the most important organizer and mind in Black liberation. And on July 29, 2022, the United States government, local police forces came in full force. But with all we can understand is an assassination attempt against Chairman Omali Yeshitela, right? Where was the St. Louis Blues saying then, right? Where was the Kansas City Chiefs saying then, and all these other places, right? But Chairman says this here, right? He says at some juncture, the system has to say democracy is just good for white people. That's all right. The masses need to hear that. If you clarify that, then it changes conditions all down the line. The system must say that or continue to pretend, as they do right now, that democracy is for everybody. What I want them to do is deal with democracy. Don't deal with revolution. We'll handle that. Uhuru. So a little bit over a year later, that's when the National People's Democratic Uhuru Movement was founded. Uhuru. So I want to salute the members of the IEC. We have Kobina out of Alabama, our outreach coordinator. I want to salute the tireless work of Vice President Tafarie Mugeri, the coordinator of our work on the African continent. I want to salute a comrade Nkululeko Sechaba out of New York, who is taking on the role of the Northern Region rep. And he can't be here right now because he's on the ground in Philly. We got two dual events going on, holding the historic Uhuru Book Fair taking place in Philadelphia. So really want to give a shout out to InPDUM branch president and InPDUM Northern Region rep out of New York, Nkululeko. And then we got, how did Chairman define Chimaranga once, like a battle horse or something like that? Is that how you call Chimaranga? Was it a battle horse? And so So that's Kabula, right? Kabula Matumbo, without a doubt. I want to salute Kabula. Give a round of applause. Let me give a round of applause. I mean, Kabula is so often in St. Louis. I bet you I don't even know Kabula live in Chicago, right? Kabula hop on that highway and go to work for Black Power, right? And really want to just salute Kabula. At events like this, is important to lift up people with features that really are worthy of emulation. One of the things in rules of party discipline that have always stood out to me is that sort of a member of the African People's Socialist Party must carry themselves worthy of emulation, right? And that to me, not above all, but it really is a central tenet in how members of the African People's Socialist Party work, because that's how we go out and do the work of the multitudes as cadre, as vanguard, in many different ways. So I just want to salute the leaders of the IEC, Uhuru. Also, of course, want to salute the local InPDUM branch, but let's move forward a little bit in this report. So what is InPDUM? InPDUM is a mass organization fighting for African self-determination. As we say, self-determination is the highest expression of democracy. Moving forward, InPDUM was formed, as we said, in its current form, essentially in 1991, April 6, 1991. So it changed slides. April 6, 1991 was the forming of InPDUM. April 6th was in Chicago, Illinois. April 6th was important because that was the 23rd anniversary of the assassination of the youngest founding member of the Black Panther Party, Little Bobby Hutton. In Chicago, of course, was where Fred Hampton and Mark Clark were assassinated in 1969, essentially forming the bookends of the military assault against the Black Power movement in general, and the Black Panther Party specifically. We know that the African People's Socialist Party was formed to revive and complete the Black Power movement, the African Revolution of the 1960s. And InPDUM was formed as a part of that process. It's for that reason that we uphold the founding of the of the People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, formed in the spring of 1965 in Oakland, California, following once again the important successful Freedom Summer, Oakland Freedom Summer Project of 1984, as well as the community control of housing campaign that the party had led, which culminated with the creation of the People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. And then there were subsequent organizations such as the African Community Defense Committees and so many other local organizations created. All of these things culminating in the founding of the National People's Democratic Uhuru Movement in 1991, and eventually the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. A resolution had been put together as late as like the late 1990s to change the name to International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, and to really make us an international organization. At that time, InPDUM had grown into Canada, into the UK. Subsequent to that, it had grown into West Africa, and eventually, our earliest branches in South Africa were formed following the Durban Conference, September 2001. So it's in 2001 that InPDUM's name is officially changed to International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. Change slides. InPDUM was an organization formed to fight against the counter-insurgency. As we talked about, and counterinsurgency, as Chairman has noted, is a war without limits. And I think what's most important, especially about a convention like this, especially about holding up our leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, is that counterinsurgency is meant to also to attack and to redirect, right? To attack the masses, to demoralize the masses, and to redirect them and redirect us towards either neo-colonial leaders or old style colonial leaders, but away from the revolutionary leadership. One document I would really suggest you all study, and when I first took over presidency of InPDUM, was a fundamental document, actually two documents. First was the Fourth Revolutionary African National Democratic Struggle. That's Chairman's address to the 2008 InPDUM Convention. And then there was also the Dialectics of Black Revolution. And that was the document that came out of that 1990 Freedom Weekend event that was held in St. Petersburg, Florida, and which really helped to lay the groundwork for what InPDUM is right now. So I really suggest you all dig that up, and even InPDUM make it a project moving forward to reprint that document and get that document into the hands of the people. Change slides. We saw that in the multiple Black community control of police campaigns that InPDUM has organized over the years, be it the defense of Tyrone Lewis in 1996, as well as to the right, you see InPDUM organizing at the moment of when Freddie Gray was murdered, with the sign that Justice for Freddie Gray, Baltimore is St. Pete. And InPDUM still organizes that. You heard a little bit about Comrade Denzel's successful case, and which in many ways really signaled this moment of crisis. Because I sat in that trial every single day, as much as every hour as I could. And it was such an interesting thing to witness. In many ways, a harbinger, and to some extent, even for what we saw last year, because I remember the DA, man, the DA thought he was like doing his thing. He would say some stuff that he thought was just like driving it in. Then you see this disgust on the jury. The jury had 9 white people, 3 Asians, no Africans on the jury. And every time he'd say something, you'd see disgust on their face. And the DA thought he was really winning. Those 12 people came back and so fast with a not guilty verdict for Denzel, that the judge told them they had to go home and come back tomorrow because they didn't want that not guilty verdict to come just so quick. And when we interviewed some of the jurors afterwards, they said that every time he came up there just making up those distortions, that was discussed, not at what he was talking about Denzel. They said that was discussed at the police and at the district attorney's office for even bringing such a case. I remember this part in the trial where they were talking about, see, when we pepper spray you, it's non-lethal, but when you pepper spray us because we're beating on somebody, that's a felony. And it just so it was pretty remarkable moment. But that's also why the work that's being done with InPDUM right now in New York in defense of Darrell Mickles, who defended himself against the transit police there in New York, is so important, because this comes on the hill of the Jordan Neely case. We know that Jordan Neely, when we lift up Comrade Jordan Neely, and we talked about that. But we also know that white liberals can get behind Jordan Neely, who was choked to death by that white nationalist. But the moment an African stands up on the trains where Africans deal with this assault by white nationalists every single day and defends himself, because explicitly saying, you're not going to do me, like you do Black people and things like that. The white nationalists are mum. right? After Africans have had to live for the last 600 years on our hands and knees, now they're the ones who want a world with peace and want a world with violence, want a world in which people aren't killed for free speech and things of that sort, right? It's pure hypocrisy. But we saw Chairman says we need them to be hypocritical. We need to broadcast that hypocrisy so that people can see it. And so since that's an important campaign we're leading, or also the campaign of the miners trapped in South Africa, who died in South Africa, and they want to make it seem like it was just a workplace death. No, they were trapped by the neo-colonial state, and it's InPDUM in South Africa that is leading up the defense of them. So I'll move a little bit quicker through this and to just say that InPDUM as an organization goes from the defense to the offense, right? It's InPDUM's platform, the Revolutionary National Democratic Program, that allows for us to go from a defensive posture to an offensive posture. So I'll move ahead to slide number 13 and just say this. This is what Chairman said in 2008. Chairman said that the Revolutionary National Democratic Program allows for us to move on the offense against colonial capitalism in a manner that requires us to do serious work among the masses of our people, thereby building the kind of united struggle that belies the claim that fighting against a popular neo-colonialist imperialist candidate must mean isolation from the masses. The RNDP is not to simply list a number of criticisms, objections, and or oppressions. And we see that, right? Oftentimes as even our own sort of source material. President Yeshitela Omali just let us study on Thursday, and she referenced an excellent documentary. The documentary is called Life in Debt. Some of y'all might have seen it, which really outlines how neo-colonialism works in the African world. But then you left it saying, so what next? What next? What yesterday admitted was that the what next for her was to join the African People's Socialist Party. So it's not just a list of complaints. This is about action. But it's primary to win the general support for a program that unites the broadest possible group of democratic forces with an aspiration to the African working class. Aspirations of the African working class, while at the same time isolating the imperial colonial power. So I'll just move forward. InPDUM is international. One thing I was really proud of in coming into InPDUM, because I remember when I came to the IEC, to be honest, we had IEC meetings on weekdays in the evening. And that was like at best the middle of the night or the morning for the comrades on the continent of Africa, right? I made it important that we understand we're one InPDUM, right? And I'm telling you that time zone, that time difference is something else. When I was organizing those Black Power Summits, I remember one time I went to sleep at 11 o'clock and I had to wake up at 1:30 in the morning. I was up all night long. Anybody in the movement knows that time crunch can be something else and things like that. But it's really worth it because we're one African people. I want to really salute the work being done on the continent right now, pushing back against. I mean, there's got to some such backwards tendencies going on in South Africa by the neo-colonizers that they will look towards the descendant of a Boer and say, we're both South Africans. And then people from even Lesotho, a country completely surrounded by the colonial borders of South Africa, that person is not a, quote, South African, unquote, but my name is Matsemela. Matsemela is a Sotho name. But a person that's Sotho, that's born on the other side of that imaginary line drawn up by colonizers, it just makes no sense. But it's the party that's bringing clarity to that. So what happened was, we met. I said, what, InPDUM's meetings have to be in the mornings and on the weekends. Because if we meet at 9 o'clock in the morning for us, it's 5 o'clock in the evening for the people on the continent. And the work was already taking place there on the continent. The work was already taking place in a very, very dynamic way on the continent, without a doubt. But I'm just really motivated by the fact that that we've been able to bring all that work together, and I think that sort of we can see it by the way in the results of this, by the way in which we see the growth when we see simultaneous campaigns, something as seemingly simple as the fitness drive, the fitness campaigns that we held in both African Martyrs Day. Looking at, we did Mafundi Lake Day, and in the same week of Mafundi Lake Day and Freedom Weekend, we did a Sharpeville event on the continent, right? So this is all important work that I'm proud to have been a part, to have been part of my legacy for the past 3 years. InPDUM is in over 20 states, 70 cities, at least 9 countries, North America, and at least 3 continents, and that number is growing. It really is growing. Right now we say we're in Musquaba, Kokosi, and Everton West, but I'm pretty sure we've added 2 more cities even in South Africa, Sierra Leone, as well as Nigeria, as well as Liberia, and so many other places as well. So really want to salute all that work moving forward. We set the importance of branch building, right? This is Comrade Zakele, and Comrade Zakele is something else. You do so much work with people, you realize you haven't even seen them in person. But Comrade Zakele is my comrade, and that's also my brother. And the offices that we've won, and that we've won in South Africa, in Sierra Leone, show the unity of the people. Right, our numbers might be a certain number, but that by no means represents the magnitude of our force. The Hands Off Uhuru movement, the victor of that movement, right? I mean, y'all should have been there. First off, like, we went to the courthouse and it was like a colonial holiday or something like that. There was like very few people there, but so they knew what they did. They limited that joint to 1 line. We was all the way out, and then we get inside. Then the verdict comes out. And everyone's like, Uhuru, Uhuru! People flying in from everywhere to come to that convention. I mean, to come to that. When you see that sort of, when you saw the groundswell of not just support and unity, but people falling in line, falling into formation, following as a part of the convention, as a part of the Hands Off Uhuru trial, it really underscores the fact that sort of the multitude of our force is not always is not merely determined by our members, but this is a call for membership, right? So that's important. There's some other stuff we will do moving forward. Moving forward today. So I'll pass up on this, but just some of the work InPDUM did around Hands Off Uhuru, door-to-door outreach, postering, tabling, petition signing, the Freedom Summer campaigns, the Get on the Bus drives, mobilizing and organizing demonstrations, rallies, and marches, and in many places like New York, where we might not necessarily have a party organization or so, we saw InPDUM's branch stepping up and being a leading force for the movement, and things of that sort. So there's tons of stuff. So this is us in San Diego. That slide. The next slide is us in Newark, New Jersey. The next slide is us in South Africa, occupied Azania. This is us bringing Black power to the Great White North. Myself, as well as Secretary General Luwezi in 2024 in Canada. And like I said, we just move forward, but InPDUM's membership drive. InPDUM's membership drive was an important catalyst in growing InPDUM's membership over the past 2 years, and really codifying the work of members of InPDUM. African Martyrs Day events that have been held, change the slide, Mafundi Lake Day, and Kobina should be reporting on some of that work. Commemoration, we talked about Sharpeville, African Liberation Day events, Freedom Summer, Freedom Summer campaign. Even though we know it was in St. Petersburg, Florida, this actually is in Southeast San Diego, the African colony in San Diego, California, where that image is to the right. And what's interesting is like I love when you all know like when this is a place we've been hitting for years, so we go and maybe some of our older posters are tattered or something like that, so we replace them with a new poster. So this same electrical post right here now has the annual arrest CPS flag posters on it and things like that. And we'll talk more about this later, but just the truth is that's actually a testament to the African community's unity, right? When you put up flyers and you don't see them flyers and posters taken down, that's a testament to the unity. So the truth is that I remember when we were doing the work around the 14-point platforms. We posted up all throughout the African community. Then we would hold public political education on the street corners right there. I remember then later on I was doing some outreach, selling the spirit of somebody. And the first thing I always do, I show the general platform of the party, and then I go through the 14-point platform. I show them the platform, and then the guy says, "Oh, that's all them posters I've been seeing around town." So that really is a testament to African internationalist style outreach. Just to change the slides, we have here the multiple Black People's March activity that we held over the last 3 years on the bi-coastal as well as in South Africa and West Africa. But really want to salute the St. Louis Black Power community rallies, really as a catalyst towards rebuilding the St. Louis branch and bring direction towards InPDUM internationally. There's so much more work that we can and will speak about. But I'll say this, I'm a report saying this. Chairman notes that the revolutionary movements have two strengths. It's ideology and it's people. Our Black community rallies brings African internationalism to the masses of people. It meets the public at their, and InPDUM is an organization that meets the public at their political door. And Chairman has also said, in quoting Marx, that when it grips the masses, becomes a material force. So it's in this sense that I just really want to salute all of the work of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement taking place all around the globe. And make an appeal for people to join the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. For basic annual memberships for the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement are $25. Excuse me, sorry. We changed our membership for incarcerated members. And originally was called George Jackson, but during my tenure we had changed it to the George Jackson Desi Woods level. And that not only, it of course represents the mass the way in which we fight against the mass imprisonment of African men and women, and the intention to turn those prisons into African internationalist universities. I think it also underscores two different forms of political imprisonment. People like George Jackson, who in his time of incarceration became politicized, but also people like Desi Woods, who was imprisoned for her political activity. So that was an important name change that we made there. Then we have our $10 Musa Bantu level. That's for students and unemployed members. And then we have our sustaining memberships, $5 a month, $60 annually. That's the Huey P. Newton level. And I remember when I first joined, I think I first joined at the Huey level or something like that. That was probably 2015, 2016. And I was like, okay, Huey, I want to be like Huey. So so that's how I joined. And that's why I really like these, but these different levels also speak towards, African internationalism. So Assata Shakur, that's $10 a month or $120 annually. And Malcolm X level which is $21 a month, $250 annually. Harriet Tubman, and I love this picture of Harriet Tubman because this is young Harriet Tubman. This is Harriet Tubman that was making all them trips back and forth with the pistol in her waistband. And I like the old Harriet Tubman too. I'm not dissing that Harriet Tubman, but this is the Harriet Tubman we use. And then there's Ella Baker. Ella Baker, the genius of organization. I think one thing I hate about the way in which the African petty bourgeoisie and white liberals have taken Ella Baker as if she's a person who don't believe in organization or some nonsense like that, right? So that can be the furthest thing from the truth. But that's that. And then we have the Marcus Garvey level of InPDUM membership, which is our only lifetime membership inside People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. Just a heads up, we will be doing a membership appeal later on today, and I'm already a Marcus Garvey member. But to forward the work of InPDUM in the next period, I'm going to purchase another Marcus Garvey membership and become a monthly sustaining member to InPDUM. That's my commitment for InPDUM's financial future. So there's so much more that can be said. If we move to a slide 51 and just say that, InPDUM is your organization. InPDUM is an organization that meets people at their political door. But to do that, we really need to make sure, like I said, we to do that, we codify our membership. We make sure that person meeting you at your political door is an African internationalist organizer. But InPDUM is a mass organization meant to bring the mass of people back into political life. And our mission, we say we meet people at their political door. So I really just want to salute you all, welcome you all to this year's 2025 InPDUM convention, and really, really look forward to the future work of this glorious organization. Uhuru.
Right there. Ease where they to. In Africa. All right. Give it up again for President Matsemela and all the amazing work that InPDUM is doing around the world right now. Really, it's so important. And I think it's becoming easier for us to get a firmer understanding of how important it is, especially during this time. It's almost, like as we watch the others be brainless behind what they're doing, it's like, well, they leaving all this space, we're gonna take it up. And next, we would like to bring forth our culture, which is the amazing and beautiful Enchanted Empress.
Is it afternoon?
Not quite.
Good morning, everyone. Howard today. So whoever chose this song, it was kind of challenging to me. And I heard that there is sacred decoding in this song. So there is a point where these brothers go to another realm, and I have yet to venture that realm yet. So at that time, I am going to honor that, and I hope that you are playing with me. So at that point, I am going to honor that and just kind of just tap right and wait it out until I can come back in.
Touch one.
Touch out.
Touch one.
Touch out.
Touch one.
Touch out.
Stop. Stop. Give a round of applause. So again, that culture was brought from our Conrad Empress. Iron phosphate manufacturing plant about a mile here in North St. Louis. The city will rather develop the war industry, give tax breaks to corporations, and push further militarization of the police at the cost of Black St. Louisans than invest in development that is beneficial to the people. Strengthen public schools, fund affordable housing, pursue efficient public transportation, end food apartheid, and support the rebuilding of self-sustaining Black communities. St. Louis City government even left the north side to fend for itself in the aftermath of the May 16 tornado that devastated thousands of people's homes. Despite inaction from the city, your organ we the Eco-Socialist Green Party East supporters have to make good on their promise given when they approved the report of the City Reparation Commission. We taking part in your struggle.
Do anything. So I'm a politician, but Uhuru, comrade, Uhuru. We first have to take it from the greedy and give it to the needy. But I want to welcome everybody to St. Louis and the St. Louis politics. And let me say this: I'm a politician now. I know St. Louis politics. Believe me, I've been before I could vote. I was in the St. Louis politics, so I'm not ashamed to say I'm a developer. She's not the big developer, but the real north side developer. I grew up right around here as a kid. This used to be a striving neighborhood. Always somebody, everybody talking about what they're going to do, want to do. But guess who is doing it? Right there, right here. Right on. You, the people. Let me give a shout out to all the people. It can't be done. It can't be done by you. It can't be done by just black people. Shout out to the white people. So people here. Dang it. If you want to see some examples of some good white people, and I'm from Mississippi, I came in when I was 11, so you know I didn't meet too many good white people down there. So I thought all of them was bad when I got here. So I joined the Nation of Islam. That was back then we was calling them devils. But and I did too, so I was full of hate. I'll be perfectly frank. But I got it out of me and got all of it out of me when I met the Uhuru Movement. Let me be perfectly frank. This group, Penny Hess, for example, Chairwoman Hess, a career, almost 50 years, an author, an organizer, helped to get almost 100 white people and some organizations supporting some black reparations. Can you believe that? I mean, that is, and look at Jesse Neville. He could be a priest. I mean, a rabbi. He could be. He could be a lawyer. He could be a doctor. He could be anything. A good husband. He even got his wife involved in the union. He not only had his wife sitting up there with him. They up there, they violate their constitutional rights. Not only did they lock him, have him standing up there, got his wife up there, she hasn't done anything, but met him. And they violated the 13th Amendment. You're not supposed to hold people unless you really got some kind of charge against them. Had her up there, holding her. And so she's right there. Now she's the treasurer for the Uhuru 3 Defense Committee. Now I tell you, and then she took some pictures of the FBI tearing up the place. She just took the pictures, so we know this group is for real. But guess who got all of this together? There'll never be another one. So we better enjoy the chairman while we got the chairman. Then, chairman, not one person who has ever, we've had great people who talked about they were going to take us back to Africa, but they never got an organization set up on the continent of Africa, on the continent of England. I love Garvey. He was the first mass movement person, one of the in America, but he didn't get any. In fact, he went to England and they probably, I don't know if they killed him or not, but that's my opinion. I think they killed him there. Yeah. I believe that. But he died in England, but he never got one organization set up in England. He didn't get any set up in Africa. And as far as I know, not even in, he did some work in the West Indies, but not the kind of work we've done. So this, the chairman is the only one who has been able to not only put the theory together, but the practice. Even Malcolm X did a great job. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I have to give him credit because I was a member from the original Black, with Malcolm X and the rest of the people. So I wouldn't be here and wouldn't have known about Blackness without him, because there was the only Black group that existed at the time that was really about anything, even though I tried some civil rights groups after that. And but that's a long story, but it's not about me. But the point is, I would like to give a shout out also, as I said, to the members. Because here I've talked about the leaders, but the members and the listening audience is important to have solidarity with the members, our supporters, and everybody who acknowledges the truth, which is that if you look at our history for reparations, I was at the last week's reparation meeting. I tell you, it was hot, but I didn't walk, so I'm gonna have to be honest. I cheated. I arrived and drove. But the point is that the reparation meeting, anytime you have a reparation meeting, this is the only group. Not only have the chairman did he do the theory again and put it together, had a hearing, and there have been some hearings and talked to people walking around with briefcases and, talking about reparation, but he's the only one that's got. We have people, even during the Republican period in 1866, 65, when chattel slavery ended, they talked about 40 acres and a mule, but we never got a mule. We didn't get a penny. But the Uhuru Solidarity Committee, the African People Solidarity Committee, and the Uhuru Solidarity Movement has organized people. So if somebody asks who has paid reparations, you can give yourself a hand. The white people here have paid reparations. When you pay and you go out and organize, it couldn't happen without you. You're essential. Right on. In fact, I don't know if I don't believe we would have the chairman here today if it wasn't for you, because they came to kill this chairman. I'm gonna be perfectly frank, he wasn't the same thing happened. So they have a record. I go by history of killing Fred Hampton at 4:00. That's where I get why I believe they would have killed the chairman. If they killed Fred Hampton, I believe they would have killed the chairman. So the point is, when I say you're essential, that you are essential, and that but as I said, one thing about it, if we're gonna have a world, that world gonna always start with the African, working class Black women, because the most oppressed sector of the working class is always those who does it. I want to thank you all. The last thing is the solidarity to the refugee, to the people who are being picked up by the police, by ICE. Solidarity to Leonard Peltier. Right, solidarity to the Palestinian people. Right, solidarity to all of those over in Africa, like Abraham Toure, who is showing what can be done, and the Niger, also in Mali, all those brothers and sisters over there are doing what the chairman again said. The chairman was talking about ending colonialism, and before they even were born. And so they got it probably from him too. So that's why he's so dangerous. Let's give it up for the people's politician, Jesse Todd. Beautiful statement, beautiful statement. We feel carry on with the solidarity statement. Miss our comrade Penny is ready. Uhuru. Fist up. Right there. Here we go.
Uhuru! Unity through reparations. Oh, it is really a tremendous honor to be here today. I want to thank the People's Alderman for that great statement. And I just want to say that I represent the African People's Solidarity Committee and the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, the organization of white people under the leadership of Chairman Omali Yeshitela, Deputy Chair Onizane Yeshitela, and the African People's Socialist Party. I want to salute President Matsemela of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement and the International Executive Committee of InPDUM. And I just want to unite with cheers to a dying system, and this time till it's won. And this is a very, very serious period that we live in. It is incredibly important time for white people to be on the forward side of history. And we know from the organizing and work around reparations, winning real reparations to the leadership of the vanguard party of the African Revolution, that there are thousands and thousands of white people who don't want to be on the backward side of history, who want to join this movement. And we are working to, as always, to build this movement. We have the Uhuru Solidarity Movement in 130 cities in the United States, and we are growing. I just want to say that as the organization of white people under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party and Chairman Omali Yeshitela and Deputy Chair Onizine Yeshitela, African People's Solidarity Committee salutes 34 years of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. And as a member of the African People's Solidarity Committee, I had the honor to be there at the very first founding convention in Chicago in 1991 of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. It was electrying. Then it is still the vanguard, the important critical mass organization of the African People's Socialist Party. And APSC salutes the struggle that has been led by InPDUM to defend the democratic rights of African people inside the US and around the world on every front of life under this brutal colonial system. InPDUM has been on the forefront of the campaigns for self-government and self-determination for African people everywhere, fighting the colonial mode of production, the reality that colonialism is the essence of the system that we live in, built on the enslavement of African people, the genocide of the indigenous people, and the participation of the white population with the colonial ruling class in the past. And that we know that what InPDUM represents is fighting the colonial mode of production in the form of police violence and murder, mass imprisonment of African people, fighting for education, self-determination, and the right for anti-colonial free speech, the right of African people to be able to freely express their determination to be free, to liberate Africa and African people everywhere. So from St. Louis in the US to London in Europe and Everton West in Occupied Azania, InPDUM unites African people into one powerful mass organization under the leadership of the vanguard party of the African working class, with the goal to forward the objective to win the total liberation of Africa and African people everywhere. From the African People's Solidarity Committee, tasked by the party to go into the white community to win reparations to African people and to build genuine white solidarity with African liberation, we again salute this profound convention. Uhuru, we are winning. Unity through.
Uhuru. Unity through reparations. I love that. Y'all know y'all see a lot of movement. I know y'all keep hearing the doors open. We got few things going on today. One of the things being market over next door, One Africa, One Nation market. And around lunchtime, we're gonna go next door and patronize them, right? Uhuru. But right now, I want to bring up Conrad in a hot second so she can read off a solidarity statement. Uhuru, fist up. Correct. Dealing with a little technical difficult. Y'all enjoying your the convention so far? Come on now. Uhuru. We got a few workshops before us. And we gonna you ready? Uhuru.
All right, sorry about that. I don't know how to work iPad. I am reading the solidarity statement from Unión del Barrio. Uhuru sisters and brothers, Unión del Barrio sends revolutionary greetings to the leadership of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. And we salute the visionary leadership of Chairman Omali Yeshitela and the African People's Socialist Party. We reiterate our decades-long organizational unity with the Uhuru Movement, and we congratulate InPDUM on your 40th anniversary of anti-colonial struggle. Your leadership and tireless legacy of struggle have helped expose how this system denies fundamental democratic rights to African people living within the belly of the beast. All colonized people have benefited from your work, precisely because we too experience these contradictions day in and day out, living under a system that cuts and denies services such as healthcare, schools, community centers, healthy food, housing, etc., while at the same time invests billions into wars, colonial occupations, and genocide. The founding of the National People's Democratic Uhuru Movement in the city of Oakland, California, so many years ago was critical in the formation of numerous Unión del Barrio cadres, particularly the weekend political education sessions led by Chairman Omali Yeshitela. Our organization enthusiastically organized regular visits to the Oakland Uhuru House to support the annual March Against Genocide, where the slogan, "We charge you with genocide," was as correct then as it remains today. Unión del Barrio members marched, learned, and united with the anti-colonial example of the Uhuru Movement during those days, and we continue to unite with you today. Dear InPDUM comrades, congratulations on your 40th anniversary of organized and uninterrupted struggle for the democratic rights of African and all oppressed peoples. Unión del Barrio stands with the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement now and will remain alongside you until this fight against settler colonialism is won. Long live the fight for our freedom, Uhuru. That's a great statement. Thank you so much. And now, the events on the African continent, namely the Sahel region, have gripped the minds of many. As Africans push France out of Africa, we see the turmoil that France is left with, plunging into an economic crisis. The chairman has defined this as the uneasy equilibrium. We felt it was important to begin our convention with this panel. We want to call up Comrade Paul Pumphrey here in St. Louis and Comrade Tafarie Mugeri virtually. Comrade Matsemela will be facilitating this panel. Uhuru.
Tafarie is. He's in China.
Oh, yes, Tafarie is a member out of South Africa, so he will be appearing virtually.
Uhuru. All right, so I want to actually I went back to the registration table, and if you do not have a copy, you can go purchase a copy of this month's Burning Spear with the leading article, How Chairman Omali Made Colonialism a Household Word. And we have to understand this, as part of the defeat of the African Revolution was also a redirect by liberal sectors and even supposedly radical sectors of our struggle to make our struggle of one against racism, ideas in the head of colonizers and not against colonialism. And if you go all the way back to 1974, 1975, Chairman Omali Yeshitela's groundbreaking article and subsequent pamphlet, colonialism, the major problem confronting African people in the United States, It's something. The forward trajectory of African internationalism in the 50 subsequent years has brought us and our international struggle to where we are right now. So I don't think it's even hyperbole for when Jesse when the People's Alderman Jesse Todd said that those people on the continent learned of this from Chairman Omali Yeshitela. You know, I've got this thing where I just sort of like, it's just like because we remember, you know, the initial importance of Chairman's 2019 address to Oxford, but then in 2020 it had another resurgence, and the last time I checked, it was at least 5 million people on the continent had viewed that video. And I love the way in which it was a side note. I love the way in which Africans we name ourselves in the U.S. Cause I remember they say this brother, you know, his name's Omali Yeshitela. They always ask me, brother, where is he from? I say he from Africa. You know, because I get that. They say, oh, your first name's from here, your second name's from here, your last name's from here. Where you from? I'm from Africa. You know what I mean? And I don't need to rub my cheek with a Q-tip and spit in a petri jar to know I'm an African. You know, Uhuru. But I just wanted to say that because it's because like I said, I got this thing I do where every time, especially these young Africans coming out of Nigeria, I share Chairman's picture and just and the number of people says, "Oh yes, I know him. I saw him on video." You know, so we're not talking hyperbole. We not. It's not braggadocio. You know, we're talking scientifically that the work of Chairman, African internationalism, and the colonial question, which would have been defeated if it had not been for the work of the African People's Socialist Party. And I can say more about this, and maybe I will in the future. But I just want to say that, you know, we can scientifically show the effects and the works of Chairman that has brought us to this moment. And as we see now, France in political crisis, economic crisis, as they can no longer live off of, or as Africans are overturning that relationship. We see the uneasy equilibrium, and we see the way forward. So we want to salute Secretary General Luwezi Kinshasa, who is living in the UK, but is living in exile in the UK from the Congo. Secretary General Luwezi Kinshasa presented a video. He couldn't be here live right now, but he recorded a video, and it's in the transition sheets. And there's also a slideshow presentation. He wanted me to just present these slides to you all, so I'll present them in short, and then he has a presentation. Then we'll hear from the head of our work on the African continent, based in Occupied Azania, South Africa, Tafarie Mugeri. Then we'll hear from Comrade Paul Pumphrey. But this PowerPoint, and if you all need, you all can pull it up. It's in the transition sheets. Entitled "The Struggle to Build InPDUM in Africa and Europe."
We need access.
Okay. I thought I just gave you access. Let's see. Okay, so what I'll do is I will make a copy of this, and then I'm going to give you access to the new one. So I will place that in the chat. All right, Uhuru. So you should be able to get the one that I placed inside the Zoom chat. Thank you. All right, so this is the so this is, I think this is the Cape Coast Castle. If not, it is the Elmina fortress in what is now defined as Ghana, with the colonizers defined as the Gold Coast. There's this one author I like. She actually refers to the process of colonial enslavement as a form of alchemy in which Africans were turned into gold. And I feel like that's fitting. It's also fitting to know that we heard from Unión del Barrio and their 40 years of unity with the Uhuru Movement, and that they received political education from the Uhuru Movement. It's also fitting to know that Christopher Columbus, basically helped break the ground at Elmina, took multiple trips as a slave catcher to Elmina, what you're looking at right now, and help build those plantations that are in the Azores and the Canary Islands before he moved west. And we know that it's African internationalism that places Africa at the center of world events. So I really appreciate that Eshe Luwezi opened up with this slideshow. He says on the next slide that he wants to thank President Matsemela for the invitation to the convention. We want to thank the entire InPDUM Executive Committee for hosting this annual working class event. Thanks Chairman Omali Yeshitela for creating InPDUM to organize African workers to lead their own mass movement to self-determination. Speaking of the InPDUM Convention, he says the InPDUM Convention is happening in the context of the shift in the balance of power in the world between old and new. Dominant powers of the death of and life struggle for Palestinian freedom and independence against the settler state of Israel, supported by the U.S. and the rest of the traditional white colonial powers. The context is also renewed calls for concrete colonial solutions to restore white colonial control over Africa and the rest of the countries resisting colonialism. Everywhere in Europe, popular support for direct colonial control over the colonized is actually growing. Eshe Luwezi notes that the battle for organization of the impoverished African workers and peasants, collective organization and struggles to win African masses to culture of being organized for strategic changes and transformation in society. He noted about this, speaking about the political importance of culture. He says the reason why it's important to wage the cultural revolution as well, but from the African internationalist perspective, is because we know that's how also the African petty bourgeoisie tries to struggle and grip the minds of African people. Characterized by the emergence of African internationalist organizers and other working class leaders as leaders of the struggles and all critical aspects of the masses' lives. So he goes on to talk about the RNDP mass mobilization and struggles, clean water and free healthcare for all. He talks about the rapid electrification and industrialization of Africa. I think he'll get deeper into this in his PowerPoint, in his recorded presentation. Speaking of the importance of worldwide mass mobilization to end all proxy wars in Africa, to close all foreign military bases in Africa, to oppose all colonial violence against African women, to end the colonial mode of economic production, and the creation of a single African anti-colonial modern economy. And then there are other there's other aspects of the PowerPoint I think he goes to in deeper, arguing for anti-colonial elections and anti-neo-colonial elections, anti-neo-colonial politics, because he was talking with me yesterday about the way to which that's how the African petty bourgeoisie and neo-colonizers grip and to take control of the electoral process and promoting this myth of African corruption and things of that sort. A massive imprisonment of African people in the U.S. and all U.S. state violence against Black people in support of anti-colonial struggles in the Caribbean as well as New Caledonia. And all colonial corporations must pay reparations. No worldwide colonial economy, no worldwide colonial immigration. Colonial corporations, exploitation, and wars in Africa and around the world are primarily responsible for mass immigration across the world. And like I said, there's so much more that can be said around this. At this moment, I think we can even, following this convention, go and reproduce Eshe Luwezi's 2020 presentation to the InPDUM convention around the importance of building the RNDP in Africa and in Europe. But at this point, I'll go ahead and bring up the video of Eshe Luwezi. Let's make sure that you all can access that. Let me make sure that it's shareable. Okay, yeah, it should be shareable. So let's hear from Eshe Luwezi, and then we'll hear from Director Tafarie.
Uhuru comrades, Uhuru brothers and sisters, I want to thank President Matsemela for the invitation to this 2025 InPDUM convention. I want to thank the entire InPDUM Executive Committee for hosting this annual working class event. I want to thank Chairman Omali for creating InPDUM to organize African workers to lead their own mass movement for African self-determination. This convention is happening in the context of the shift in the balance of power in the world between the old and the new dominant powers, in the context of the death and life struggle for Palestinian freedom and independence against the settler Israeli state, supported by the US settler state and the rest of the traditional white colonial powers. This InPDUM convention is also happening in the context of the US state attack on the Chairman Omali in the Uhuru Free, and also it's happening in the context of the threats of wars against Venezuela, Yemen, Iran. Despite the so-called 12-day war, every day you read in the Bush newspapers, there is a likely of another war to happen against Iran. So it's happening, in that context. So we will just recognize that, and also these conventions happening in the context of increased political upheaval, where we see in Europe more and more politicians who are calling for harsh colonial laws, so-called far right, gaining supports. Trump is not the only one. In France, we have Le Pen family. In Germany, it's the same thing. In Britain, it's the same thing. Basically, the traditional liberal imperialism organization are losing ground, to the advantage of so-called far-right organization. We see that throughout Europe, Australia, Switzerland, all those places. It's the same story. And this convention is happening in that context. What's our response? How we get the African working class to understand the issues, what is at stake. I would like to say that collective organization and the struggles to win African masses to culture being organized for strategic change and transformation in society. This is just fundamental. We can't continue to join the struggle led by the African petty bourgeoisie, who are the only benefactors. Beneficiaries of that struggle is only the African petty bourgeoisie. You can take an example of the election. It doesn't matter who wins, if it's the party that was in power or the party that was in the position. In final analysis, it's always African petty bourgeoisie who comes out as the winner. We can't continue to do that, and our mobilization, our participation in the struggle must benefit the African working class and poor peasants ourselves. And that has to be a cultural shift. Culture, basically cultural revolutionary kind of shift needs to happen. And this can only happen if we have on the ground African internationalist organizers mobilizing the impoverished workers and peasants, because we have no stake in the self-enrichment and expenses of the masses of the people, and that is critical because our final objective is African self-determination, so we can speed up the struggle for the African nation and also speed up the struggle for worldwide revolution that needs to happen so the African workers can be in power, and this is fundamental. So advancing the RNDP through mass mobilization and the struggle involving ordinary African workers and peasants has to be concrete. It has to speak to the reality of the people. So if you're in Africa, for example, they're questioning clean water and free health care for all is fundamental. This has to be, in every village, in every town, in every university, every school, wherever the people are located, the struggle for clean water has to be forefront. We are fed up of having this dirty water that kills us, send us to the grave before the age of 40 years old and things like that. So that's concrete. That's what we mean by taking issues that the people are facing on the daily life and also transforming our society. Clean water and free healthcare. We also want rapid electrification and industrialization of Africa. We're going to clean water, yes, free healthcare for all, yes, but you can't have all those things also if rapid electrification of Africa doesn't take place. So we can industrialize the production. We can have electricity in all corners of Africa. This will increase production, 1,000 times, and this will be the foundation to industrialize Africa, because you can't industrialize Africa without energy. You can't just do that. So we need rapid electrification and industrialization of Africa. This has to be the demand of all African workers and poor peasants everywhere. We need an end to all proxy wars in Africa. For us to develop, for us to have all these rapid industrialization, we can't have wars, so we can concentrate on the production to produce what we need to consume, so end all proxy wars in Africa, because the proxy wars in Africa are tools used by colonizers to not only to kill us, population control, but also to extract our wealth almost for free. Because what's the price of all those 20 million or more Africans killed in those proxy wars in the Congo, in Somalia, in Sudan, in Angola, and so on? And we also want the closure for all foreign military bases in Africa, because there's the connection, proxy wars, military bases. You can't have U.S. proxy military bases in Uganda and Rwanda without having U.S. proxy wars in the Congo and etc. We always have to go close all these foreign military bases. We oppose all colonial violence against African women. Just read the report. Look at the pictures about the war in Darfur, the war in South Sudan, the war in the Congo. You will see the violence the African women are going through. Unbearable. It's just not. You could see this violence for you to believe this violence is being done, because the bourgeois press doesn't say much. If you read the mention it, just it's just like footnotes. It's not like a big deal. But in reality, We're talking of dozens of millions of African people. Women are being raped in the millions. We're talking about young girls being raped, in the millions, throughout Africa. This has to stop. We have to organize worldwide mass mobilization to end the colonial mode of production. This has to go, has to stop. We want to create a single African anti-colonial modern economy that is necessary. End colonial mode of production and create a single African anti-colonial modern economy that will produce everything we need. We have all the resources, we have all the manpower around the world, and we just need industrialization of Africa so we can produce what we need. We want to have a worldwide mass mobilization against anti-neo-colonial actions. It doesn't mean we oppose elections, but we oppose to neo-colonial politics that are vehiculated, that are used by neo-colonial politicians, to run neo-colonial elections. We need to intervene in those processes. Every 2 or 3 months, there are elections taking place in Africa, and we need to be really formidable force in exposing that, and also winning people who can participate in mobilizing on the ground, advancing the RNDP programs. And we want a worldwide mass mobilization against the massive imprisonment of African people in the U.S. And all U.S. violence against Black people must stop. And this can be stopped if Black people around the world are mobilized, particularly in Africa. There are mobilization outside the U.S. Embassy in Cote d'Ivoire, in Benin, in Congo, South Africa, Sierra Leone, and so on. This needs to happen. Of course, in France, in Europe, in London, definitely. So, and this mass mobilization also have to be done in support of anti-colonial struggle. It's taking place in Guyana, Guadeloupe, Martinique, New Caledonia. African people in 4 of those places continue to be under direct control of French colonialism. And this has to stop, particularly at this very, very moment. There are huge mobilization taking place in those islands, and of course, the bourgeoisie doesn't want you to know it, so you don't see that hitting the international news. We are clearly saying that this question of immigration, in fact, the colonial immigration is immigration that benefits the colonizers. It's immigration that built countries, for the colonizers. Immigration, builds Europe, benefits Europe. All these doctors, all these cheap labor that are coming here. You've got qualified people coming to Europe working in a manual job, even those who have qualified jobs. But presence of Africans outside Africa benefits the host, basically the country where we live. But in short, we have to intervene, in a robust way around this question of immigration, because the colonial economy is the foundation of what they call immigration. We are here because of the colonial economy that take everything from us, take our countries, take our wealth, take our life, take our future. So we have a legitimate right to be in the US, to be in Canada, to be in France, to be in England, to be in Australia, to be wherever there is colonialism, because it's colonialism that has stolen our life, our future, everything we have produced in the last 600 years. So that's why the demand of reparation is correct. And we are asking to all our comrades, to really, really respond to this question of immigration, this attack on Black people and colonized people in the name for immigration, by exposing the colonial economy and raising the demand for reparation too. So that's basically some of the things I wanted to say. I think our RNDP can be progressed, can be advanced wherever we are, but we need to have this concrete domains that the mass can hear us. It's not that difficult to do, like the question for water. The mass can hear us, but we're not going there as a charity organization or anything like that. But it's a part of mobilizing African people around our own needs, run our own developments, run our own programs, because the final analysis we want to do is win everybody to the question of self-determination for African people everywhere. That's a critical point that we need to win everybody around. So I just want to thank you, President Matsemela, once again, Chairman Omali, and all the comrades we organized this InPDUM event. Or
All right, Uhuru. So now we'll bring up Director Tafarie in Occupied Azania, also known as South Africa.
Uhuru, Comrade President Matsemela, just want to clap hands for Luwezi Kinshasa, and I don't know why I was made to speak after Luwezi because it makes things very difficult for me. I feel like he has covered a lot of ground as far as the RNDP is concerned, but I do wanna, salute the work of InPDUM, congratulate all the people that participated and made contributions in terms of the organizing of this, annual convention of InPDUM. And I want to salute my leadership, the leader of the International African Revolution, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, and I do want to salute the entire central committee of the organization that I'm a member of, the African People's Socialist Party. I just wanna a special shout out to Comrade Paul Pumphrey. The last time we were on a panel together, it was it around yeah, I think it had to do with Congo and Rwanda, and I learned a lot. So I'm just honored to be part of this panel. Once again, so just in terms of the whole discussion, I just want to start from where some of the things that SG Luwezi, talked about, especially he talked about water a couple of times, and right now where I'm at in Kokosi, in this is the western edge of Johannesburg. There's no water. There's not been water for weeks here. Initially they were, giving us, maybe water, rationing out water, maybe in different sections, maybe for an hour or two. But now there's no water altogether, and there's going to be a protest on Tuesday in this community. So it's a reality. When we talk about the water crisis, it's not something that's being made up to try to make colonialism seem so bad and things like that. It's extreme. Colonialism is extreme, and African people experience it, and a lot of us in the townships, we see this thing happening on a daily basis. If it's not electricity, because we always have a power issue here. Like right now as we're speaking, electricity could be gone anytime. There's issues with infrastructure in this community, potholes everywhere. If you're driving, just if you have a car for that matter, then you'll have to deal with the potholes here. There's an issue with transport facility. You want to go to work, and then there is a taxi. I think in Kenya they are called matatu. You're gonna get it's like a minibus. That's what we call taxis here, like a minibus that can accommodate like 15 people. That's how we go to work, and then it's gonna be taking rounds, moving around the entire community, looking for people that are gonna fill up this minibus, and then you arrive at work late because there is no transport infrastructure for the working class here in this community, just to even go and make money for the colonizers in Forgeville. So these realities are, we don't have to even wonder what to organize around. As InPDUM in our branches here in South Africa, even in Sierra Leone, the party has been there in Sierra Leone in terms of some water schemes like water harvesting programs, even in terms of clinics. There's a documentary that I once watched. I don't know the situation now, but a couple of years ago, I think it's in Gambia, the Gambia, there was like one ambulance for the entire country, one ambulance for the whole country. So the healthcare issues, in terms of the conditions of African people, I mean, even in terms of the US itself, right? We saw here in schools, we do a case study of Hurricane Katrina and how African people, suffered, from that so-called natural disaster, and it's known. African people here, even in schools, even though it's just like what S. Luwezi was saying, it's just a footnote and whatever. Um, you get to see that, I'm black, I'm African here in South Africa. I'm experiencing all these issues with them mudslides and landslides and whatever, and people losing their houses in the KwaZulu-Natal province in Durban. And then you learn about how African people are affected by things such as hurricanes in America, in the Caribbean, and things like that. All these things, that's all colonialism and African people. So I find the RNDP as a mobilizing tool that's actually in motion. I'm glad that as a member of InPDUM, uh, I'm not here talking about the RNDP as something that's just abstract and or something that needs to be done. It's already in motion. Just from the presentation that President Matsemela made earlier on today, we could see that this is the RNDP. That's the RNDP. We're fighting opportunism, responding to whatever, contradictions that our people may be faced with at any given time. We are there on the ground and things like that. So it's a question of whether we have the will to implement this program or not. But then you cannot do it by yourself. And I think that's what the RDP speaks to, and even beyond our own organization, the InPDUM says that we have to rally all sectors of the African population and others, even other colonized people and those that unite with the struggles of colonized people, around this uh, you know um, around this whole struggle against colonialism as the primary contradiction, and it can be done. And this helps us to, bring the revolution back into the hands of the African working class. The African working class needs to begin to assume leadership of the entire African revolution. Right here in South Africa, the betrayal, it can be seen by everyone. It's there in front of our eyes, and people can see that the ANC has betrayed us. The ANC cannot move us any further than they have attempted or pretended to be taking us. So it's a question of what is the alternative. That's why the colonizer population here, the ruling class, the white ruling class in South Africa, they are beginning to feel that maybe they can advance, a white face now in the form of the Democratic Alliance, to say that, we had the ANC as white power in blackface, but now maybe because the question is open now, because the ANC is dying, then what? And it's not just the ANC dying, but also Frelimo in Mozambique dying, then what? Because people are losing confidence, in terms of these organizations that have lost any historically derived revolutionary purpose, character, or relevance, whatever. They don't have that anymore. They cannot take us beyond where we are. And I think it's the same thing with people like Barack Obama and the RNDP, developed around that time of Obama and whatever. Uh, Obama came, Obama went, and then the people's lives did not change. And then the question is, then what? Are we looking for another Obama, a female Obama or whatever, and things like that? So it's a question of the revolutionaries have to come through and say, no, the power, stop looking for power elsewhere. The power is right here in our hands. We just have to take on African internationalism, the political theory of the African working class, and own it. So that's why we have to be able to have these political education, programs and studies in our communities on the ground with the African working class. I liked um, when I was joining the African People's Socialist Party, the Uhuru Movement, some 10 years ago when I was younger. We One thing that really attracted me to the party and the chairman was when the chairman kept on emphasizing that don't assume that this is too much for the African working class to learn. That these concepts they will not understand what colonialism is. They will not understand what dialectical materialism is and so forth. But then we have seen right here in the African community, people that did not finish school even to speak of, we are able to um, hold studies and then explain this in such a way that it's understandable to anyone, even people that don't really understand English that well. They're able to now use those words, working class, dialectical materialism, and even maybe make it sound a bit African. We in African languages, anything that we get in English, we twist it and then it sounds African. It's African internationalism, but then when the African workers say it, they say it in such a way that you're like, okay, oh, you're talking about the same thing. Yes, that's what we call it now. But it's the same thing because we want to own it, and the African masses are definitely creative. So, but then all of this cannot really happen without organization. That's why, as much as we say we are there in West Africa, the comrades in West Africa, we still want to see the programs on the ground. We still want to see the campaigns being waged because there's always something to organize around. There's always something to mobilize the people around. We don't have to wait for this something like this, for example, a convention, to begin to talk to people. Because when we do that, the people are gonna say, "Who are you? We don't know you, you want us to come to your event and things like that." And but then when the people know who we are, they even though sometimes they may come with excuses, no, I need to go to church and whatever, because we get that most of the day, they'll still know that that's the Uhuru movement and things like that. And they and eventually our people are going to get courage to say that, I want to take a role, I want to be responsible. One of the errors that we've made here in South Africa before was assuming that people will be frightened by work, and then maybe we organizing something, and then we having committees, and we're not really tasking people to do stuff, and then they criticize us to say, "Man, you called me to that event, and then you didn't even give me a responsibility," and things like that. So as soon as you say to someone, and we saw it right now recently because we just had yeah, elections, branch elections, and everyone was motivated. I was like, okay, I thought people were going to be reluctant in terms of taking responsibility and being secretary of the branch or treasurer, economic development, membership coordinator, and everyone jumped in. There was a contest for these things, because uh, it also has to do with our self-confidence. African people have been so brutalized in such a way that we lack confidence, and we don't expect to be heard. You know, our voices, our opinions are not supposed to be heard. When we and we see people all over, you know, the streets. When we meet them, when they meet us, they begin to get fired up and tell us about the music they want to make. Tell us about this small business of selling fast food that they want to do. I have this skill. I can make sofas. I can make, I can fix cars. I can do such and such a thing. But then nobody wants to hear me. I don't have the resources to make this thing happen. I'm on my own. I don't know if people are going to support me and things like that. So when we begin to organize in the community and get the people together, and like here in this branch, we have a car wash. With the car wash, people come and wash their cars. We have conversations. We give them a pamphlet, and you know every time they meet us, Uhuru, they want to talk more about the share whatever things that they're busy initiating, and we talk about how we can be able to support each other in terms of that. But just to take it beyond that question, there's a discussion around the Sahel with Ibrahim Traore and Chiane and all those your military comrades in of the Alliance of the Sahel states. The RNDP addresses that, you know, being able for African people to be able to create our own African Liberation Army and to get together to fight against the colonizers, AFRICOM, and all this stuff. So we can get it there, and we don't have to, uh, and we have not even done that, shy away from engaging with any of these forces. You know, hopefully we'll be able to get there to Burkina Faso and engage with them, with those comrades over there in terms of advancing this international African revolution, because it's one struggle everywhere, it's one revolution. There's not going to be any Burkinabe revolution or Malian revolution or South African revolution. We are fighting for the African revolution, and all African people are going to be involved. I just want to stop there, Uhuru.
Oh, I think I finished. Oh, I was just applauding.
Oh, sorry. Let's say,
Yeah.
go on mute. Who finish?
Oh. See how you confuse me. I'm doing it all the time. Okay. He's off.
Good day, brothers and sisters. I think we're here on a special occasion, and that is dealing with the future of African people. And this is an exciting time to be on the world's history when we look at what's been going on in the Sahel, what's been going on in Southern Africa, in places like Namibia, Botswana. And we need to, I think, learn some things from that. One, I find that we here too often do not share with our young folks going to school some non-traditional classes that Black people aren't known to go into, such as geology. Why? Because Africa has minerals. Africa has oil, but they don't have a lot of geologists. And this is a role that we could play in helping Africa to take advantage of the resources it has and not be dependent on its enemies to tell them what is happening and what is not happening. One of the things you find out when you look at what's going on in Burkina Faso was they realized that France was, for every 10 kilos of gold, it was taken out of Burkina Faso. 9 of it was never reported. And they only paid for 1. And of course, in Burkina Faso, they didn't have geologists to really Know the difference. We cannot depend on our enemies to look out for our interests. And we need to encourage our young folks going to school to look at the non-traditional classes that are very important. The non-traditional careers are very important for the future of African people. When we look at things like what is now going on in Namibia, and I must admit the fact that I'm proud to say that Namibia now has its first woman president. And she came out in her position, a new position as a president, with fire in her belly. She said no longer would it allow people from the United States to come to Namibia without a visa. She said, you're telling our people have to apply for a visa to come to the United States. Why shouldn't we then reciprocate the same thing for you? At the same time, she said, citizens from Botswana and Zambia, if they want to come to Namibia, the gate is open. Come in, go out, you don't need a visa. And so basically, she's pushing the future of Africa without borders and Africa for African people. And this is something we can learn from. The new president of Botswana, who happened to be a graduate from Howard University Law School. When he got elected as president, one of the first things he said was, I want to join the Sahel Alliance. This is a new Africa that we have to play a major role in giving support to. You know, one thing that I've been talking to a lot of people about was that right there in Washington, D.C., the University of District of Columbia has a 2-year program in its community college to train people on how to become FAA certified mechanics. Why is that important? Because if you have an aircraft and you want to fly to Europe or Canada or the United States, if you can't prove that the maintenance of that aircraft was done by certified mechanics, as soon as the aircraft lands in Europe or the United States or Canada, it is grounded. And now the airline has to pay either the US or Canada or Europe to do an inspection. We need not to be putting ourselves in positions where we become victims of their greed. So we need to really look at some of the basic things that has kept Africa down, that has kept the Caribbean down, that has kept many parts of even South America and Central America down. Another good example is that you cannot grow cocoa or coffee away from the equator. Yeah. How many African countries or Caribbean countries make, premium chocolate? All the ingredients of premium chocolate grows in their country, but they sell the cocoa, and the price they sell the cocoa for is like 1/60th of the value of premium chocolate. So it creates like a vacuum cleaner sucking out the wealth of Africa, the Caribbean, Central America, and South America. Good example, Ghana produces 20% of all the cocoa in the world. And you got an industry of chocolate generating almost $200 billion. And Ghana generates less than $2 billion off of its cocoa. We're where we can learn how to make premium chocolate and partner up with our brothers in Ghana and helping them to be able to make their own chocolate and then sell their chocolate rather than their cocoa. Same thing goes for coffee. Everybody knows about Ethiopian coffee and East African coffee coming out of Tanzania and Kenya, but yet they don't roast or blend their coffee. And so it's like a vacuum cleaner sucking the wealth out of African countries, out of Caribbean countries, out of Central America and South American countries, and transferring that wealth in Europe, United States, and Canada. So we're in a position where we can learn these skills and play a major role in helping the economic development. And trust me, when that happens, I'll use the example of France today. Since in the Sahel, Niger has kicked France out from stealing its yellow cake uranium. And when I say stealing, let me explain what I mean. France was paying Niger 86 cents per kilo for yellow cake uranium and then selling the same yellow cake uranium for $200 per kilo to Canada. When Niger stopped that from happening and started, in fact, selling their own yellow cake uranium, it became the fastest growing economy in Africa and the second fastest growing economy in the world. When you see Burkina Faso kick France out from stealing their gold, Burkina Faso got in a position where it was able to pay off its international debt. The United States is nowhere near close to the position of paying off its international debt. And so if we want to look at an Africa economically independent and in a position to develop itself and address the needs of its people, then we need to look at how we can play a role in helping Africa to do that. When I talked about the issue of mechanics for airlines or aircraft, one of the things that the countries in the Sahel began to do was buy drones to begin to stop the incursions of terrorists that often got plenty of support from Europe and United States in coming in their countries and destabilizing their countries and their economies. But the bottom line is you got a drone, you're going to have somebody who knows how to maintain it. And so these type of skills are extremely important for us to begin to start talking to our youth about looking at a career. Hey, how about an airlines career? How about looking at being a maintenance person for aircraft? Because estimation is within the next 30 years, inside the United States, there's going to be a shortage of close to 30,000 airline mechanics. And this is, again, a direct way of how we can build the economy of our community, as well as give support to our brothers and sisters throughout the diaspora as they develop their economies. And so I encourage each and every one of us to look at ways of how we can encourage our young people and even ourselves to acquire skills that will truly be able to help develop the economy and help African people throughout the world to be able to be in control of their resources and not have to depend on their enemies to, in fact, extract their resources and so often rob them of their wealth. So these are some things, again, as we look at the politics, we have a real role I think we need to play. And that's the role of helping to move towards economic independence throughout the whole diaspora. And so this is the message I'd like to share for us to look at, because we're now seeing that happening in the Sahel, in Mali, in Niger, in Burkina Faso. We're seeing that happening in Namibia. We're seeing it happen in Botswana. And even with the new president of Ghana, he is doing the same thing. He kicked out the US military, told them to go. We don't need you anymore. But again, when you look at Ghana's ability to produce cocoa, one of the most beautiful things about cocoa and coffee is every year they still got the cocoa. If I sell you my gold, I don't have the gold anymore. You do. I sell you my chocolate. I got the chocolate next year because you just ate up the chocolate you bought. And so these are we got to think outside the box and look at ways of how we can actually help build the economies of African people around the world and bring about real justice for African people, where African people can truly move into a liberated zone of where they can help themselves move forward in the world we live in. I thank you.
I appreciate that. And responding to Comrade Paul's speaking towards the importance of us developing, our own intellectual power to solve our own points, it drew me to something else from Secretary General Luwezi. So if we can pull up that PowerPoint by Secretary General Luwezi, there's some stuff that I inserted. In fact, some people know I teach Africana studies, and if you go to the first couple slides, that should be there. It should be the very first 3 slides that are inserted at the top. Thanks. So in 2009, the Secretary General Luwezi Kinshasa penned this essay here that you can find at the Burning Spirit called The Role of African Intellectuals in the World. And I think it does speak directly to this point here. In it, he outlines the relation between African students and imperialism. So I'll just present some stuff to you. He says, in any given society, African intellectuals are the result, intellectuals are the result of the level of development of society. Intellectuals are specialized in solving the problems that confront society in the process of producing and reproducing real life. And that goes all the way back to the beginning of humans, right? I mean, first time someone says, okay, well, be a lot easier if I could try to bring some water from here to there and not just see whatever I could put in my hands or something like that. That's the basis of human intellectual activity. So one says, okay, well, maybe what if we weave baskets the same way we braid our hair together, we would tie it up, we could collect the water. Then from there you might get clay and pottery and then metal work and things like that. Intellectual activities arise in the process of producing life, in the process of solving problems and and that oppose the development forces of production. S.G. Luwezi goes on in that article to argue that colonial capitalist production has produced nations, institutions, and social relations needed to reproduce the system. First is the relationship between colonizer and the colonized. Second is the relationship between the middle class, African middle class, Black bourgeoisie, and the African poor and workers. He goes on to say students aren't a class. So it's important, but it's important to know that sort of we continue this in dual and contending power, right? Even as we contend with the colonial capitalist system, we build for the future. So we might send our kids to their schools, but in the process of building, but it's well, let me just continue to read. They come from various social classes, as Luwezi knows. S.G. Luwezi says, however, they're being trained to service colonial capitalism and imperialism. So what needs to be done? What needs to be done is that African students for the revolution need to become African working class intellectuals. And this is a part of another lecture that I do where we look at African intellectuals in the world, and we also read an excellent book I would suggest if you're concerned with this, Groundings with My Brothers by Walter Rodney. But S.G. Luwezi goes on to say, it is our view that African students must serve the people. Their education must be used to develop the organizational fighting abilities of the people against neo-colonialism. They cannot be apolitical because universities are not apolitical. There is no such thing as an apolitical institution under slavery. You're either for or against. African intellectuals must critically examine the world as it really is as if they want to end the humiliation and domination of Africa and her dispersed people. The role of African intellectuals is to discover and understand the true history of the genesis of capitalism and all its manifestations that constitute a challenge to the existence of African people on this planet. The commitment of African intellectuals is not to become a mental worker for imperialism. The duty of African intellectuals is to solve the problems of the people which which are imposed on us by a worldwide economic system of foreign domination known as capitalism. African intellectuals must unite with the people and plan the struggle to defeat imperialism in Africa and around the world. Uhuru, so I just, inspired by the conversation and where it was going, felt it was important to share those writings of S.G. Luwezi as well as we move towards the discussion phase of this panel. So we have about 15 minutes set aside for public discussion. I'll first go to Chairman Omali Yeshitela.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. What I'm going to say is will be abbreviated by the fact that we really don't have that much time for this panel, for this discussion, this workshop. However, I want to think it's really important to reiterate that the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement is a child of the African People's Socialist Party. And the African People's Socialist Party is a revolutionary organization. That our objective is not simply to make things better under this social system. Our objective is to replace the existence of the social system in the life of African people, period. And we recognize that this is the fundamental thing that will end a system based on slavery and exploitation. It's the only thing that's going to give us an opportunity to create a new world that sometimes people talk about, but most recently don't talk about. In fact, most recently what people talk about, again, is how to make it better under a system that the presumption is that it will be here forever. Therefore, how do we find a way to live in it? For us in the African People's Socialist Party, we created the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement in part because this government had succeeded, not just this government, but worldwide, globally. The colonizers had succeeded in crushing the struggle against colonialism, killing Lumumba, overthrowing and then killing Nkrumah, killing Malcolm X, killing Martin Luther King, killing members of the Black Panther Party, killing co-founder of the African People's Socialist Party, jailing us all around the world and here. And it's no coincidence that these things will happen simultaneously throughout the world. Lumumba being killed, Nkrumah being killed, assassinations happening in this country with Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King, the attack on the Black Panther Party, the attack on various other revolutionary forces here, and not just here in terms of this landmass of the United States, but even on my birthday in 1967, the murder of Che Guevara, after wounding and capturing Che Guevara, his murder. So the thing is, increasingly, the African People's Socialist Party, more than any other organization on the planet Earth, is responsible for reintroducing the struggle against colonialism to the world. Because the murder of Malcolm and Nkrumah and Lumumba and others like that were not, and Sobukwe, these were not simply the murder of individuals, it was a major assault on ideology. So they killed us, they didn't just kill us, but they killed us to make room actually, ultimately and objectively, what it did was what became a part of the struggle in our community for who was going to lead the African people, what direction were African people going to go into. So they killed a Malcolm, and they killed even a king who was increasingly being influenced. If you look at what the documents that the federal government talked about, what would make King an enemy. And this is why they killed him, based on the struggle against colonialism. So that struggle was replaced. That ideology was buried. And what we saw taking its place was the struggle against racism, the struggle to find a way to make this colonial system that is so oppressive work for us, how to find how to work in it. In fact, you will hear individuals who have said, you know, how we have to just make the best of it, when this is not something the best of which the best can be made of. And so I just wanted to say that I think it's really important. I think that there's so much information that we've heard that's throughout this process of, and I just think it's incredible. I always enjoy these discussions coming from Africa. This is the work. When you hear Comrade Tafarie talking about on the ground, this is the work in the communities. When you hear how Comrade Secretary General Luwezi explains this in terms of the relationship it has to the operation of the whole social system on the planet Earth, that's what we're looking at. Then you have Comrade Paul Humphreys, who gives us details of how extraction of value comes from this reality. But this is a reality that we've defined as not just colonialism, which we knew sooner or later people were going to be forced to unite with. Colonialism is real, but colonialism can be a policy. Portugal had a policy 600 years ago that took it out of Portugal, an almost non-significant entity in the bottom of Europe, into Africa. It was a policy determination. And then Israel, this illegitimate white settler state that they call Israel, had a policy that took it into Palestine and that's killing people in Gaza right now. That's a policy. But what started out as a policy became a mode of production. That is to say, this system would not operate without this thing being something that is ubiquitous and connects the entire world together. Before the attack on Africa, before this process, there was no such thing as a world economy. Paul is talking about a world economy. When he's talking about how this comes from this X amount of resources can only be attained about this amount in some place like Nigeria or Ghana, etc., but it makes this much in America. Nestle and Hershey and all of this, getting all these resources. He's talking about a world economy. This is a world economy. If it was the resources left to Burkina Faso, right there, if it was that simple, then we wouldn't have to have this discussion. But it doesn't leave Burkina Faso. It doesn't leave. It does leave Burkina Faso in the same way they left Burkina Faso, in the same way we left Burkina Faso. It's a world economy that we became a part of, that they constructed off our lives and our resources, etc. So the point is that we knew that people were going to be able to say, down with colonialism. But the question is, down with a colonial mode of production. All life on the planet Earth, all the human life, the process of creating this life on the planet Earth comes as a consequence of this colonial mode of production. It's a parasitic mode of production. That's what Paul was talking about, parasitism. And in every place he mentioned, he was talking about how, see, they're taking this from us, they're taking this, because it's parasitic. And all of us, white people, the colonizers, also participate and live within this colonial mode of production. They don't just sit on top of it, they live inside of it with the rest of us. That's why they're always threatened by everything that we do. Because what we do to try to create life for ourselves means that we're extracting our life from their possession. We're taking away from them. and to benefit us. I just wanted to say that I think it's really important for us to know that, and the objective of the African People's Socialist Party that created the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement is self-government. And you can't have self-government without land. Land is the basis for the creation of life. Isn't that right?
Correct.
That's why they don't grow the cocoa beans in the air. It's not in cyberspace. They have land where they do that. They do that in Ghana. They do that in Ivory Coast.
And they say they're going to do it in Canada.
And they say they're going to do it in Canada, and which is the land of the indigenous people that they've taken from there. So I just think it's really important for us to understand that Africa and African people and what we do are central, been central for 600 years to the development of the world that we live in. It is a critical factor, even though we've been taught otherwise. We see ourselves as some kind of minimal forces, etc., when we have been the critical factors in the development of human life. The whole process of economic development, the economy of the world has revolved around what they've taken from Africa and African people, and the future will be determined by what we do to take back the lives of Africa and African people and all of our resources and put them to work for African people. And when we do that, we'll create a whole new society that will liberate white people also from the fears they have to have. They must be afraid. If you steal something and you got it all in your house and what have you, and you got the people from whom you've stolen it living all around you, you're damn right you better be afraid, because as the more that they come to understand what you've taken, the greater the likelihood they're going to come to get it by any means necessary. Anyway, Uhuru.
If I can make one other point. We're often told that Haiti is poor.
The pearl of the Antilles.
Okay. But let me give you some information here you may not be aware of. Haiti has a mineral called iridium. They have mountains of it. The market price for iridium is $6,000 an ounce. How can you call a country poor that has mountains of a mineral that costs $6,000 an ounce? But what the U.S. does, it creates crisis inside of Haiti, and then they can bring their troops down there to protect the people digging out the mountain. Another point about Haiti. In 2008, United States built its fourth largest embassy in the world in Haiti. So if Haiti is poor, why did they build an embassy in Haiti bigger than the one they got in Canada, bigger than the one they have in Great Britain, bigger than the one they have in Germany, bigger than the one they have in France, bigger than the one they have in Japan, bigger than the one they have in South Korea or Australia? Obviously, it's not because Haiti is poor. Haiti is being robbed.
Yeah.
But they want us to believe, not that they're stealing, but that they're because they're just trying to help them poor Black folk. So yes, we need to be very, very clear about the role of world imperialism and how they keep misrepresenting the truth to us, so that we are thinking, and one last thing, when people talked about, oh, how terrible it was with USAID, let me explain what the real role of USAID was.
Take the covers off.
Okay. United States and the imperialist powers recognize that if people are starving, they will overthrow their government before they allow themselves to starve to death. And so what the US and Europe and imperialist powers have done throughout the diaspora is to make the diaspora only producers of cash crops, where they now have to import food from countries that can only grow food maybe 6 months out of the year. Now think about it. You're in a continent that can grow food year-round, and you got to import food. Now, before World War II, Europe got its food from Africa.
They got their food from the Caribbean. How come now all of a sudden that Africa and the Caribbean must look to get their food from the United States, Canada, Australia, and Europe? The answer is quick. It's control. If you're hungry, they can control you. And so we need to be clear on the games that are being played against us and recognize that we need to do things to challenge it and to empower our people to take back control of their lives and be the producers of their future and not depend on imperialist powers in the North. Right on.
So we have some time left
While we wait, I just think it's really important. About it, but to talk about it in the fashion that we can go and change the world that we live in, that aspect of that we don't appreciate. Uhuru, I see his comrade Shakura has come to you.
Yeah. Uhuru, comrade.
Uhuru.
Here, appreciate you too. Our Chairman Omali Yeshitela, to our Deputy Chair, to President Matsemela, and to all of you comrades. I just want to say, man, this is so important, and it's such a critical time. And I don't, Chairman just summed up a couple of things I wanted. He just said that when he said the whole thing. Let me just slow down. It's been running back and forth. The Chairman just laid out that the colonial mode of production, which he, the party, gave us that understanding of the colonial mode of production. So I just wanted to say what we see happening with the Sahel nations and I do have was this for a question or was I supposed to say something?
You have a question, go ahead.
Is it just for questions? I'm sorry, because I'm not.
Comments.
Go ahead. Comments as well? Okay. So I just wanted to say that what has really been inspiring is that exactly what Chairman has been talking about is actually happening before our eyes now. We heard with Captain Traore. And years ago I thought, and I haven't written, but that if Africa, because of Brother Paul was saying, and many of us know because we studied the extraction of our wealth. That's what it's all about, the colonial mode of production. But what I'm saying, if we close our borders, it is so clear. If we close our borders, that's the beginning of turning that around, taking back the control. Like, for example, Traore has put them out. He's taken back the mode of production for that country. And we know, we know, and I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna shut up. But the thing is this, right now, I see Ibrahim Traore, I see him as the epitome or a conglomeration of the leaders that's been mentioned. Some of them did not get to finish some things because we know Chairman just they were assassinated or every all their work was destroyed. You know what I'm saying? Like Garvey, whatever. It was stopped. It was abrupt. It wasn't like they just couldn't do it, or that the people, because the people are ready to struggle with the leadership, and we see that with the leadership of the chairman and House Impact World. I heard the solidarity statement out there from Unión del Barrio. So we know the impact, and I'm so proud of that. But right now, to move forward, like the question was, how do we move forward? And I just see the unity. How do we reach, the brother from South Africa, I'm getting names almost.
Tafarie.
Yes, yeah. So he was saying some things about, and you know, many of us have been to the continent, and so we know what it's like. We know the pain. We know how hard it is. Like the chairman sometimes says, when we're doing the rallies or whatever, they don't have the ability just to plug up and like we do here. So everything is just harder. So, but my point is this: follow. How do we? This was my question. This is how the question was coming. How do we help support the Sahel nations? How do we? How do we support what Traore is doing so that he is not isolated in a certain kind of way? We already know there's been, I don't know, the last count I heard was 20, 30 something attempts on him or whatever, I don't know. But again, it's not about the individual, it's about what's happening. And that is taking control of the mode of production. And that's what he's so it's like a blueprint almost. Blueprint. All the other nations really, that's the question. How do we help? How do we help? And I know we keep building. And so that's all I wanted to say on Traore. On the Sahel, and after hearing what they had said. The other thing, I think, maybe everybody knew this but me, but Chairman, we said the origin was us of this of the beginning of the global colonial mode of production, and even just the whole economic worldwide economics being pulled together. But it was started with us African people being so. One thing I went back, and I'm gonna stop for real. But one thing I went back, it's really been weighing on me and just trying to figure out how we can move, really understand how so deep this is in light of man, it's so hard for me to call that man's name, but Trumpet and Chairman laid out, he said Trump. Who did you say, Chairman? Trump, the Chinese president, and
Xi.
And third one, and how they're but the man in the White House is doing, White People House is doing, these changes so quickly, and he's a master distractor. So, and not only him, y'all, just because I say something about Trump, they all the same. The Democrats, Obama and Biden even set stuff up to make it easier for this dude to do what he's doing. But they made it easy for him. So when I look back, I went and revisited the civil rights. The Civil War and Reconstruction. And the whole everybody here knew this with me. The Civil War, what the South wanted, once they took, they actually made themselves the Confederates of America, the United States of the Confederate States of America was what they were. Are you with me, or you don't have African history?
No, I know.
Okay, so in 1861, before the war started, whatever, they actually separated and conceded from the states. It was 11 of them, and then 2 more came. They included Missouri and Kentucky. They didn't actually join whatever, but because they had what do you call them? The people who succeeders. There was
secession.
Yes, they had conventions and whatever. So, but the 2 states never did leave and go with the Union. So the 2 or 3 of the major points of the Civil War. The reason they fought the Civil War was, number one, they did not want to give us exactly what we're talking about. So we are so key that their way of life and slavery, and the state's going to be in control, and they will continue to do slavery. The reason I'm saying all of that is because with the acts, and it's nothing about fear or anything like that. It's all about organizing and being in a position to where we can protect ourselves and provide for ourselves in whatever, as we are organizing and building wherever we are. The Voting Rights Act, the Civil Rights Act, and the Slave Act, we know they're all acts. So they can be changed and whatever. With the ICE, that's what I'm trying to, I'm sorry, y'all, so many things. With ICE having now the largest budget for law enforcement, their budget is larger than all of the other budgets, law enforcement budgets put together. I know this seems like it's scattered, but it's all connected because the budget is high. And so y'all, it's millions, billions, isn't it? Isn't it billions that he's as far as the budget for the
yeah. I don't know, but tomorrow also we're also going to have a panel where Unión del Barrio will be present, and even some of those questions.
Okay, here's the last. This is kind of what I'm trying to sum up here. So this is as this man moves and do these different things, I don't think it's even I don't think it's far-fetched to think that we're next. And so they're going to be coming after us. I think this is another reason he is completely. Oh,
yeah. Well, because one thing I will say is that maybe you were even going towards this, is that it's not even just that we're next. We was always first. So I think that's important in understanding African internationalism. Even when he launched the assault against the indigenous community by way of these immigration raids, the legal justification he used was in the assaults that were made against the Africans and the white allies in the 1850s who were fighting against the slave raids then. So he literally used those laws. But the important lesson we need to understand is that that was also the result of Africans fighting back. And so there was something called the Battle of Christiana. Y'all should look at that. The case of Shadrach Minkins. Look up the case of Anthony Burns. And it's the African masses, the working class of African people, who rose up and said they will defend their own. And as a part of that struggle in St. Louis, you had that was the part of that same struggle. The legal part of it was the Dred Scott case. Those were called freedom suits. That was one of hundreds of suits that were waged, but it was part of a struggle to push back. And they were successful to an extent. In all those cases I told you, the juries didn't convict people. But the difference between now and then is Africans fought for freedom. Africans won their freedom from colonial slavery, so I hear you, but the point I'm just making is that sort of now we have revolutionary leadership underneath the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party. So that is
that's
right.
Was sense, but are seeing against people being able to speak, because without being able to speak, we won't be able to continue to organize.
Right, Uhuru. Yes. So I'll pass it to Chairman, who can answer that first question.
When I was talking about the Sahel, vision is how do we help move that process forward, because it is taking control of production and also. And don't stop. But I saw even as this stuff has been going on, I just saw more and more the importance of the fight that hands off Uhuru that we won.
Ultimately, what helps the Sahel is what it is that we do now. You cannot help the Sahel. We're not asking people, for example, to go to Burkina Faso or some of these other places, but recognizing that it's one struggle and that here is one front of the same struggle for the liberation of Africa. It means, and also they have a responsibility there. We were in Burkina Faso. We met with Thomas Sankara years ago. I don't know if you were in the work at that time. We met with Thomas Sankara. Sent somebody there. Actually played basketball with Thomas Sankara, the guy who Traore attempts to emulate, aspires to emulate. So we've always had that connection. And here's the thing. That's why the issue of colonial mode of production is so important, is to explain it so that we know that we don't have to go there. The way we intensify what's going to prevent what they are trying to do here from in Burkina Faso. It's what we do here. What is going to prevent what France is trying to do in Burkina Faso? It's what we do in France. Africans. The fact that we build movements that's connected to that process and also invite, and they have a responsibility on that side to unite with this as well. It's one struggle. It's one struggle, and that's why ideological clarity is critical. That's why ideological clarity is critical, to the point that we can lock our brains into understanding this one struggle and that we are operational. We're not just talking about it being one struggle. We're organizing around it. We're doing stuff. We're striving to take power. We say we want control. We want to be self-governing. And so that's an aspect of what it is that's critical about winning. And then we win everybody else who we can to make this struggle here. And every genuine revolutionary in the past has always said, when you say, what can we do here? They would say, make the revolution where you are. If you want to help in Burkina Faso, and the other thing about that, it takes a special organization for this, a special kind of organization, a special kind of people, cadre. It takes a certain discipline. It takes a political philosophy. It takes tactics and strategy, knowing where you're going, not just when something like this happens, but a strategy that will allow us to do the work all the time and to take into account events as they come into existence. If you have a to what end, and that's the critical thing, because there are people, as you know, who, for example, call themselves revolutionaries until Obama got elected. When Obama got elected, the whole thing got changed. And then when Obama double-crossed us, then the thing changed again. You can't, Obama's just, who was it? Was it you? Somebody said that Obama came and it went, was that you? Somebody. Tafarie, yeah. And so that will happen. Nelson Mandela came. We said who Nelson Mandela was, who ANC was, and that how they betrayed the revolutionary project. It was a single project. It wasn't just a South African project. And those people who believe that, we told you what you're doing is making an apology for neo-colonialism. They said, South Africa, the last colony, now we're all going to be free. What the hell are you talking about? How can you be free in a sea of neo-colonialism? How can you be free? We have to make revolution in all those places, etc. Anyway, I know I'm not as articulate as I need to be right now, but I know we are pushing, like with the time, etc. And yeah, I'll just say that and leave it here. Uhuru. This time till it's won.
Uhuru. Fight back. Fight back. Here Africa. Ease went late too.
Uhuru, this time till it's won. Uhuru, let's give a round of applause for this dynamic panel. Man, it feels good for the chairman to be back in the house that Black has built. Uhuru, and just to put the icing on the cake, we got these two other dynamic presentations that make him look awesome. Uhuru, y'all hungry, y'all? Yeah, y'all hungry? Okay, we got two vendors outside. One is Willie Wings. How about that? Willie Wings. It's the three W's. I forgot the first W, but Willie Wings Walls. Willie Walls Wings. Willie Walls Wings. And he got some decent price of chicken and barbecue ribs out there. So let's spend some money with him. And we also have Toupee out there with Toupee Caters. We have some vegan dishes because we know Chairman don't like what I like. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. He don't eat corpses. So with Toupee, for our Saturday lunch, we have a vegan Salisbury burger for $8 and a vegetarian Salisbury burger for $8. And you know, since I'm not a vegan or a vegetarian, she had to explain it to me. So we know that the vegan burger has egg in it to hold it, everything to. I mean the vegetarian. See, look at it, look at it, look at it. The vegan burger don't have eggs, and the vegetarian do. I think that was just explained to me. But then for $8, just the burgers. Then she have the vegetarian burger combo for $15. That include potato salad, chips, and drink. Or you could go with the vegan combo with green salad, chips, and drink. Uhuru. So we do have.
We're going to begin before everyone goes get their food with the flag raising.
Uhuru. So you heard the president. We're gonna begin with the flag raising ceremony, but after that, we're gonna go and eat. But you know we got some vendors outside, so we ain't gonna walk past them like they don't exist. And we have some t-shirts on the back table for $25. So we're not gonna walk past those like it don't exist either. So come on, y'all. Let's spend some money because we know it also takes economics to overturn the contradictions in our communities. Uhuru? Uhuru. So come on, let's eat and do this flag raising concert.
No, I can't get triggered.
Ceremony.
30 pounds, man.
See, they over here talking about some vegan food.
Hey, I tell you, if you